People add to cart, but they never check out. This is one of the most frustrating things I hear from e-commerce brand owners, and I'm going to give you 32 different ways that you can kind of attack this and go about fixing this problem. So yeah, I've spent the last 4 years in e-commerce and optimizing Shopify websites. So treat this video as a resource. There'll be timestamps below somewhere. And yeah, just it's going to be a lot of me talking and explaining things, but just jump to the different parts that you need. I'm going to put the link down to this PDF below somehow, below the video, and I'm going to give a list of the things that you can go through just to, if you want to use it as a checklist or as a guide. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing you can do is switch to a one-page checkout. Now, there's some people who still don't know about this. I don't know how this is possible. But if you haven't tried a one-page checkout in Shopify, go to your settings and turn it on, and at least test it, right? So make sure, this is the caveat with a lot of these things here, make sure you test them because not everything works for every store, right? So test having one-page checkout. This can be a game changer just because customers, they see this, one clean page instead of 3, 4, 5 different steps of things they need to do. Next thing is cart drawer. So with the cart drawer, you want to try and not have a cart page and instead have a cart drawer or a pop-up notification. This is more ideal because instead of having to load a whole different page and then people go there and say, oh, this is what I have in my cart, and then go back to shopping. It just creates a net extra step there. You don't really need it. Try using a cart drawer. Okay, next thing is free shipping. This is actually a very interesting one, and I want you guys to test this. It seems bold, but make sure you test this out because you might find that just because shipping is free, one, it reduces an extra stage in checkout, right? And two, it just means there's no thinking to do. They go to checkout and they just put their payment details in and they're gone, right? So this might give you a significant lift in your conversion rate, which was probably more than the shipping would cost you if you just added it to the price, right? So make sure you test this out and see what kind of uplift it gives you, and if it's worth it, then just use free shipping, in general. And also, if you can't do anything about the shipping, just make sure you're transparent about the cost early, because what happens is people go to the checkout and then they end up at the shipping stage and it's just like, oh, I've now got to pay this extra price, which isn't ideal. Similar thing with this next one, remove any tax and any fees, any hidden random costs that are associated with your product in the checkout. Just get rid of them, right? If somebody goes to a product page and they wanted to pay $80 and then they end up paying $88, that's a little bit of a sudden jump in price that they just didn't expect, and they're like, oh, what's this tax about, whatever it is. That's just a little bit of friction, and it's a conversion killer. So make sure you remove any hidden fees, add them to the price instead. So once people go into checkout, they just need to put their payment details in and go. Just make things easy for them. Okay, the next thing is skip the cart stage altogether. Now, if you have 3, 4, 2, 1 product on your store, right, try this out because this might be an absolute game changer for you. What's the point of having a cart if they're not going to add multiple items to the cart, right? If most people on your store are buying one product and then maybe one smaller, cheaper product, or they're buying, whatever it is, you just want to send them straight to checkout because there's no need having the cart stage, right? So that's something you might want to test out, sending people to checkout instead of having the cart. There's this thing called Shopify Permalinks. Explore this. It's got some good documentation for it, and it will help you out. So next thing is payment options. So inside of your Shopify settings for payments, you'll probably have the default options set up, which are decent. But make sure you have these things like Apple Pay, Google Pay, Shop Pay, Klarna, PayPal, right? All these other different options in, just to allow people to pay in multiple different ways. So another one is Amazon Pay, right? Any payment option, crypto, right? Anything that's like people like using, activate it, make an account for it in the back end as a business, and then have those options available just so as many people as possible can access your store and spend money with you guys. And then the other thing is show those payment logos as well. Just if you accept something atypical like crypto, for example, then show people that you accept those kind of payments, right? So then people know when they're going into checkout. Another thing is an abandoned cart email. So this is something more for like your email team or your email agency. So if they go to checkout and then they're given their email or their phone number and then they leave, so that means they left at the shipping stage or the payment stage, you have their information so you can go and contact them via an abandoned cart email, right? So you can set up an email flow for this. This is usually it's not a standard email, but people who know email very well, have it set up already, but just make sure you have this set up so you can follow up with people, because in real life, if somebody gave you their contact info but didn't end up closing, you'd end up following up with them. So do the same thing on your store. A reminder pop-up. This is an interesting one. So if somebody has added something to cart and then they show exit intent, so the cursor goes off the window, or they've sat there for 5 minutes and not done anything, one thing you can try and do is to show a pop-up on the site to remind them to finish their purchase. Because maybe they were watching a video or something, and they had your site open in another tab, and then they went off to do something else. Right, so just want to remind them, hey, before you go, see if you can, finish your purchase today. So something like this, just to remind people before they leave your site. Next thing is top bot traffic. So you might see a super low or super high drop-off rate in your site, but it's probably just because they're not actual humans on the site. You'll be surprised there are click farms and people who literally their entire business is to grab a load of mobile phones and then start pointing them over to different places. So you think you're paying for really good ad traffic, but you're just paying for bots to come to your site. It's fairly easy to identify where bot traffic is coming from, because you just need to segment, go to like a report and show any report where the conversion rate is like precisely 0 for a high amount of sessions. That should be really suspicious to you. So make sure to block those, because they'll obviously never buy, so that drop off will always be there. Okay, segment organic traffic. So this one is interesting because if you have people coming in from cold traffic and then you also have people coming in from ad traffic, those are two different buyers, right? So someone who came in from your Pinterest or your Instagram is probably a lot colder than someone who saw, a retargeting Facebook ad for you, right? So you want to treat those two people differently, right? Look at the conversion rate and the drop-offs for both of those people, and don't treat them as if they're the same, right? And bundle it up into one number and be like, oh, my conversion rate sucks. But it's just like you have people coming in from like Pinterest or something, right? Or from Facebook, which are cold, and maybe they've not seen a lot of your stuff, and maybe they're just exploring. So you need to design a separate funnel for them and then educate those people, so when they do add to cart, they're a little bit more likely to purchase. Next thing is the view cart button. So you might see this next to like a continue shopping button, and it just makes me laugh when I see this, because it's like somebody is literally looking at the cart and you're saying, hey, why don't you view the cart? Like, use a cart drawer and then you have your cart items in there, so when people click the cart, they see the cart. They don't need to go to the cart page. Now, I know some people have some different funnels set up, so they'll use a cart page to drive specific upsells, or if they have some peculiarity with their product that means they need a cart page, then it makes sense for them. But for most people, you don't need those buttons. You just need to have a checkout no button, and that's as simple as it is. Remove any friction, and that's going to increase or decrease how many people drop off. Use a cart app. So most people will have a theme, and then they'll use the cart that's inside of their theme. The problem with that is sometimes that can become out of date. Sometimes it can be worse in performance. Sometimes the app can be worse in performance, but sometimes it can be worse in performance. So you want to try a cart app. So a few popular ones are like Rebuy, or I think there's Recart. There's a few other different ones inside of the Shopify App Store that are really popular. So you want to try using one of those, right? Make sure it's set up correctly so it performs really well and it loads really well, all these kind of things. But it's going to have a lot more features in there for you guys in terms of structuring your cart and making sure it looks good and it's set up best to convert, because it's a cart specific app rather than using the one that came inside of your theme. So next thing here is the cart items reminder. So this is usually the notification bubble that you see in the header from some sites. So some sites just have a bubble saying, oh, you have some items, and now they'll just put a dot next to it. But you want to tell people the exact amount of items that they have in there, and make sure it's in a really bright, noticeable color. Red is usually a good color because that screams, there needs to be an action taken here, right? So have your cart reminder bubble there visible on the header. So if you don't have your cart in the header, make sure your cart is in the header, make sure it's visible. And then if you have some kind of urgency, which is actually true, then add that in there, so that will remind people, hey, you've got X amount of time to purchase or something, right? Or purchase this week to receive this kind of gift, right? So add in some kind of reminder in the cart once they've got something in there. The next thing is providing shipping info beforehand. So this kind of relates to the shipping one. I had someone over here. So if you can't make shipping free, make sure you communicate about the shipping costs and also the shipping information before you get to the checkout. So if somebody is looking for the estimated delivery times and then it turns out it's way longer than expected, you want to tell them that ideally before they get to the checkout, because they'll get to the checkout and be like, oh man, I really wanted this thing, but it's going to take too long, so I don't want to get it anymore. I'm going to spend some more time deciding first. And then you've lost them in that stage. So make sure you show as much shipping info beforehand, especially if your product has, again, any peculiarities or specific things. So next thing is address auto completion. There's a few different settings for this inside of Shopify in the back end, and I think there's a couple of apps that you can get for this as well. So if there's any way that someone, because one really annoying thing is filling out your address info, and then you have to type, oh, address line 1, address line 2, this, name, billing info, this, right? If there's any way that you can allow customers to complete that faster, literally any way, toggle it on because it's probably going to help customers to do something way faster. And that's going to lead to more conversions for you and less drop off, just because people are sometimes a little bit lazy. And then as they're typing something out, they can get distracted or something comes up. But if it's really easy, then they'll go ahead and finish. Next thing is using pre-selects and defaults. So if you've got something where customers need to choose for a certain thing when they checkout, so for example, shipping protection is an interesting one. So don't make them choose yes or no. Just pre-select yes or pre-select no, and then if they want, they can change it. Don't add an extra decision for them to make before they come in into the checkout. So checkout is just the worst place possible to make new decisions. Checkout, you just want it to be super smooth. You already know what's going to happen. You just need to put payment details in and go. You don't need to make any new options. So they just need to go next, right? Next thing is basic branding and settings. Make sure you have the basics covered. This is going to be quite a common theme as I'm going through this. Make sure you have the basics covered, right? No one has this like silver bullet in their checkout that makes, you know, the drop off rate really, really immaculate. It's just they do a lot of the basic things really, really well. So make sure you have your logo in there. Make sure you have your colors in there. Make sure you have your shipping options set up correctly and basic things like that, right? In terms of requiring few details, so this is the next one. So some people have in, oh, you need to have an account created. You need to have a phone number. You need to have a separate address for billing and shipping. You need to have your first name, right? All these things that you need to have when you're filling out the contact form, just require less of them, unless you actually really need, you know, separate addresses for billing and shipping, unless that's something inside of your operations that you do need. And if it is, consider whether it's going to be worth having the drop off in the checkout. So require as few details from people as possible, just the critical information that you need so that they can check out. Currency and language, this is one that's often missed as well. If you've got a secondary market, so for example, if you're based in the US, but you're also selling in the UK, you want to make sure that you have a currency switching enabled on your site and also in the checkout. So one thing that happens is you'll have it on the site and it's working fine, but then you get to checkout and then, oh, damn, suddenly this is in a different currency, right? So make sure you have that just funnel consistent in terms of having the right currency and the right language. Contact info, I think this is an underrated one. I've seen this done a couple of times, and it's just basically adding contact info inside of the checkout, especially if you have a complex product or something that's highly priced, right? Or a complex checkout. Like, for example, some brands need a complex checkout because they need to build something, or delivery date pickers, these kind of things, right? You want to make sure that you have a contact phone number in there, or just some way for them to reach you. Again, this is something you can test, may work, may not work for you, but I think this is something that helps people. So especially if you're on desktop and they're like, oh, wow, I'm about to check out on this thing, but I have a question. Can I contact somebody really fast? And then they can put in the phone number and give somebody a call. And then if your office is open, you can help them out, or they can send you an email. Add in some copy or some banner elements. So you can use an app called Checkout Blocks for this. I think I've made a video on this or some kind of content on this. If I have, I'll link it somewhere. You want to reinforce brand social proof, and I mean brand there because obviously you want to have social proof for your product, but also for your brand in general, because they're buying from your brand and this is your checkout experience. So you want to have social proof that, hey, this brand is reputable, this website is reputable, right? So you want to revalidate the offer. This is in terms of product, give guarantees, warranties, reminders, right? This is basic stuff. So you just want to make sure that if somebody is coming to buy a certain product, so make sure you toggle it if it's a certain product, they're reminded that, oh wow, yeah, do have a warranty. You can actually return this if you don't like this, right? Address any other doubts that they have like that tastefully, and just make sure it's just the highlights. A really clean way to do this is like a bullet point list or like a banner of the most important thing, and you can add it to your checkout on the side or somewhere inside of the page. And then, yeah, if there's anything that relates to checkout or shipping specifically, like for example, if you have a review that says, wow, the checkout experience was really nice, or the shipping experience was really nice, extra points for you there as well, because people are at that exact stage. Next thing is policies. Quick one, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but they show up in the footer. Just make sure that they're there. Makes you look professional. You can fill this out in Shopify settings. Next thing is focus. This is an interesting one. So a lot of people will have these upsells and progress bars, and they're meant to increase your conversion rate. They're meant to increase your AOV, basically. That's how they work, right? And then AOV leads to, usually more revenue, but it can lead to a lower conversion rate, right? Because if you think about it, if I'm about to check out on product A and then I get this upsell for product B as well, I'm now forced to make a decision. Oh, do I actually want product B? Oh, product B looks kind of interesting. Oh, is this price point okay for me? All of these kind of things. And now I'm caught inside of this loop. Whereas if I never got recommended product B, I would have just went about my way and bought product A and left the site. So you need to do some maths on that and figure out, is this upsell actually worth the possible loss in conversion? So just split test this, right? A/B test this in terms of having upsells or not, having progress bars or not, and then just make sure you're optimizing for the right thing. Because if you want a really high AOV, then having the drop off in conversion and the cart to checkout is something you kind of need to put in the back burner because they're opposed to each other. So pick one of them that you want to optimize for. If it's AOV, fine. If it's cart to checkout, then go for it. All right. And then, yeah, any other elements on the screen or messaging that doesn't help people get from cart to checkout, if it's like, oh, maybe it does, and I'm not really sure, just get rid of it, right? Just get rid of it. If you really want to optimize for people who are dropping off, just get rid of it. It's just not needed. If someone can press checkout, put in the payment details, and then go, that is what you want. Nothing else that's distracting them. 24 is about utilizing the post-purchase page. So this is an interesting one because you'll usually see people that have these really stacked checkout pages and carts, all these different things that you can have and information for them. And then you go to the post-purchase page and it's like the default one that's never been edited ever, unless they've got like a server in there, right? So you want to make sure you're distributing information correctly across the stage that they're in, the funnel stage that they're in. So if they are, if you're giving them info about something about when they have purchased, then put it on the post-purchase page rather than putting it on this page. So just make sure that page is also optimized as well. Make sure you have a trustworthy, reputable site. And if you're on Shopify, I think a lot of this is already done for you. But yeah, one interesting thing is a powered by Shopify badge at the bottom of the site. You might see this in the footer sometimes. And as I was shopping the other day for something, I saw this on a website. I was like, damn, is this website like trying to scam me? Because by the way, we say this like, it's just make sure your site is credible. Like I've actually seen some really scammy sites out there, right? I was looking for to buy a piano. So I've got a piano, can't see it. I've got a piano here, and I was trying to buy a piano, and I went to the site and I just saw this offer for like, half what it was in retail price. And I was thinking, this looks like a really good deal. And then it turns out the website was just a complete scam. But yeah, I went to another site and it said powered by Shopify. I was like, okay, great. This is a little bit better, right? So stuff like this can help customers make customers feel a little bit more at ease in terms of the site. By the way, obviously, if it's powered by Shopify, doesn't mean it's not a scam. People can use Shopify and still scam you, but it's just something that helps people. And in terms of having like about us pages and social media links, these are really good things as well to have. Because if I'm buying from a site and I think that they're going to scam me, they're going to take my money and then not deliver the product, I want to make sure that they're actually a real company. Because psychologically, I'm just thinking, okay, if they do scam me, can I tell someone about it and get help, right? So you want to make sure you've got a face on your website somewhere, or a name, or some kind of credibility to say, hey, we're actually real. So yeah. Also, smaller things like your SSL and domain security, just make sure those things are up to date, easy. Make discount codes easy is the next one. This is usually a source of frustration for a lot of visitors. I'm sure in terms of like customer tickets or customer service tickets globally in e-commerce, maybe like a good, I don't know, 15% of them are usually to do with like discount codes, just discount codes. They seem to be something that just are really annoying across the board, right? So try and make discount codes easy. One thing you can do is just have less of them, or if you do need to have a lot of them, just manage them really well. Make some kind of spreadsheet or document where you are organizing them so you don't have a load of different discount codes going out. And if they need to be scheduled at certain times, make sure you schedule them at certain times. Make sure they're in the right time zone as well. So all these kind of little things to make sure if somebody puts in a discount code, they get the discount they need. Make sure it stacks correctly, right? You need to test all these things using some kind of discount. Now this, like I say, can be a really tricky one to get right. But if you do, this is going to fix a lot of the drop off in conversion that you are seeing. So yeah, other little thing I put here is showing the discount box in the cart can help. Again, make sure you A/B test it. But yeah, this can be something that helps because people put in the discount code and they see the discount applied before they get to checkout. So again, they just get to checkout, they put the info in and they go. All right, they don't need to fiddle around with discount codes. Obviously, there's another side to the story about having that in cart, but that's for another day. The next one is optimize desktop and mobile. So if you want to make sure you have the best drop-off rate possible, which is as low as possible, you want to make sure you have a good experience for both desktop and mobile. You've been told to prioritize probably mobile because most people are mobile, but make sure that your desktop is also optimized as well. So if you have a banner that shows just for mobile, make sure you have one that's for desktop as well. Or if you've got all these extensions and you've toggled them to mobile, make sure they're on desktop too. If you've applied some of these things above just to mobile, apply them to desktop too, right? So make these optimizations on both these devices. It's really going to help you. Next thing is to reduce load time. Again, don't skip this one and be like, oh, I can't do this right. Really have a go at this. This is one of the basic things that will really crush it on your site. Invest some money into this, right? As soon as the page loads, if I click the cart, it needs to open. Right, this is a really common one that I see in some small stores, right? You'll click the cart and then it doesn't work, or like it will refresh the page and you're like, what? So some people are really fast on their phone. So like they'll click a page, cool, boom, I'm going to the cart, boom, I'm going back to the home page, boom, I want to go to the product page, right? So people are navigating at light speed, right? But you need to accommodate for that by having as quick as the load speed as you can. So reduce the number of apps that you have. Use default fonts so your checkout isn't loading cumbersome. Loading isn't cumbersome. By that I mean if you have custom fonts added in checkout, it's going to add in some extra loading time because they need to render the styles and scripts in. So just try and avoid that. And also simplicity is another thing. I probably should have added that in. That should be like 33. Simplicity in the checkout is another big thing. If you see these big wacky checkouts and they've got things dancing and the colors it's a little bit crazy, then just know it's either like the brand is exactly that crazy and whatever it is and they just want to be consistent, or it's just really not necessary and it's putting a lot of people off. So yeah, make sure it's reduce your load time. Ask your visitors is another interesting one. So if they have given their information in, so this is similar to the abandoned cart email. So if they've given their email or phone number in before they left, so they abandoned checkout, then you just might want to call them or email them. So send them either a personal email, so from business email, and say, hey, I saw that you went to the site but you didn't check out. Did you have some kind of a problem on the site, right? So maybe they'll give you a new perspective on something, or maybe there's like, oh, I'm still just making my decision, or maybe this discount code wasn't working. I had this issue with the product dimension. I couldn't find out what it was. I was trying to buy, but something came up and I'm going to do it later, or I'm waiting for this promotion, right? So you'll find out some interesting thing that's going to give you a new perspective on how to tackle this problem. Speaking to your customers directly. The next one is to create urgency to purchase today. So a big reason why people don't purchase or don't go from cart to checkout is because I can do this tomorrow. I can do this whenever, right? So you want to try and create urgency to tell them, hey, you really should do this thing today. Don't come back tomorrow because it might not be here tomorrow. Don't come back next week because it might not be here next week, right? So I've got moral qualms with this, because if you do this in the wrong way, so you just say, hey, you've got 20 minutes unless your cart is going to disappear, as if your website is going to go down and someone's not going to go and find it tomorrow. I just think that's false, and I think if you're treating your customers and visitors in the wrong way, that's going to lead to either lower conversions or lower trust, and you want to avoid that, because that's just not going to help you in the long term, because that's kind of trying to cut a corner, right? So I think if you need to create false urgency, I think it's just maybe a little bit lazy, because creating actual urgency it does take a little bit of work, but it's not crazy effort. So what you can do is say, hey, I'm going to give you guys a free gift if you ordered this week, right? So I'm going to send you some kind of free gift. So if you're selling pencils, you're going to say, I'm going to throw in a rubber for you in the next week, right? So then you speak to your shipping people and said, hey, let's throw in some rubbers or some of this free gift for people for the next orders in the next week, and you make it happen. And that's actually some valid promotion that you can use in your cart to incentivize people to purchase today, right? So that's just one idea. You can take a bunch of different extrapolations from that idea, and create some kind of urgency or reason for people to purchase today, right? Are they going to get some kind of free gift? Are they going to be entered into some kind of a raffle, right? What is it? And just make sure people are incentivized to purchase today rather than leaving it for later. Next thing is to fix errors and UX bugs. So what I want you to do is literally just go through your checkout. To be honest, you can even ask like ChatGPT, hey, make me a checkout checklist for UX bugs. So it'll cover things like discounts, mobile and desktop, different combinations, all these kind of different things, errors. Make sure you've got all the different parts of the United States and United Kingdom and postcodes that are set right, PO box, all these kind of things, right? Make sure that they're covered and test it for errors. So you might uncover that people in a certain location can't put their address in because there's some kind of bug with the way that you set up your Shopify markets. Or you might realize, oh wait, the stacking and this discount applies here or doesn't apply here and it shouldn't. Or you might realize, hey, I've not updated my checkout in a while. I deleted this thing that I thought was here, but it's not here anymore. All right, there might be a difference in the order that it's laid out in. Or you might have a checkout app that's put in somewhere at the top when it should be really at the bottom. Or maybe your order summary is default open when it should be closed, right? There's so many different things that you can find out once you go in and actually research. Make a checklist and then go in and find any issues or bugs that might trip people up. And I think if you're using Shopify, you're doing already a better job than most people. And if you're not using Shopify, then use Shopify. This is actually a very valid one, I think. It wouldn't be hugely applicable to a lot of people because most people already do. But for the small fraction of you that are using like ClickFunnels for your checkout or some other kind of software, I recommend using Shopify Checkout. I do just think Shopify Checkout is the best. I may have a bias, but yeah, it's literally been used a trillion, gazillion, whatever times, right? It's just been used a lot of times. People have got familiar with the look and feel of a Shopify Checkout, right? Just because it's been used that many times and they've got great market share. So Shopify's got great market share in the e-commerce space. The landing pages experience on Shopify may not be as good as ClickFunnels. I can agree with that. I can reason with that. I think it takes some custom work, but I can see why that logic. But I think the checkout experience with Shopify is probably one of the best, especially at the price point it's at, and for most people. And then so those are the 32 reasons. I do have a bonus one I'm going to go into real quick. So it's just accept that number will never be 100%. The average, I just Googled this, the average drop-off rate is 70% in terms of people who added to cart and didn't go to checkout. 70%, right? So you can optimize this downwards and get this as low as possible, but it's never going to be 100%. Why is it never going to be 100%? Because we're humans, right? James, who's a customer in your store or a visitor in your store, was watching Netflix when he was shopping in your store. And maybe he had to go for dinner and he just forgot, right? Katie, who was, trying to buy one of your products, is still just deciding, right? She added this thing to cart, but maybe she wants to call one of her friends and say, hey, what do you think about this thing? And then maybe she decided not to get it, right? Maybe there's people like me or your competitors who are just checking out your funnel and seeing how your add to cart works. Maybe someone's just literally just curious about how your website works, right? Okay. And yeah, for that reason, it's just never going to be 100%, right? So we're humans. You're never going to get an 100% conversion rate. There's some instances where you can. I know enough to say that, and it's just, you can get very close to it. You can get very close to it, but you'll just never be 100%. So one thing that people do is they'll blame, oh my gosh, I have this massive problem with this in the checkout and this, whatever, and they'll fixate on this, and this will break their head, but they've got terrible ads, right? And their ads are terrible, or their emails are terrible. So they fixate on this one thing when they could be going and fixing other things. So one thing you can do here to improve this is to just focus on something else, right? Just try and lift some kind of other metric on the site and accept that, for example, the AOV one's interesting as well. You may find out that, this drop off, it could be maybe 80% for you, but the AOV is so good that it's like, well, whatever, right? So this is something that you just need to wrestle with. So yeah, I hope this was useful. If you have any questions on this, please drop a comment. My name is Victor. You can call me Vic, and I help Shopify brands improve their conversion rate. If you have a question or you need some help doing this and you want some higher level strategies, which I can't share, then get in touch with me. I hope this is useful. Bye.